Hi everyone, welcome back or welcome in if you are new to my channel. Today's video is another video in my bridal makeup series. So for those of you who are new to my channel or new to this series, welcome. I am getting married next spring, so I have been testing out a bunch of different makeup styles throughout the year, and I'm just kind of adding these videos slowly to a playlist that I will link up here as well as in the description box down below so that you can check out a bunch of different styles and techniques for wedding day makeup. Today's video is a winter makeup tutorial. I talk through the complexion products that I recommend for winter time, especially if you live in a cold climate or have dry skin. And I also, just in case you're scared off by this red lip, I do give some recommendations for ways to make this a little bit more wearable for the more romantic bride. Personally, I think this red is stunning for a wedding, but I understand it's not everyone's vibe, so continue watching if you want to hear kind of ways to tailor this to different styles of winter weddings. Without further ado, let's go ahead and jump into the tutorial. Okay, so I'm starting this look off with my complexion products, and I'm gonna go ahead and start out with a primer. And this is from The Ordinary, it's the High Adherence Silicone Primer. And I use just the tiniest amount of this, only in the parts of my face where I want to make sure any pores or texture are smoothed out. So I have some pretty visible pores on my cheeks, on my nose, and then I have some lines on my forehead. I usually skip a primer like on an average everyday basis, but I do think it's worth going that extra mile for your wedding day. Similarly, I usually just apply like a lightweight concealer on an everyday basis, but on my wedding day, I will probably do some sort of color correcting because I do have dark circles under my eyes. So I'm gonna mix the LA Girl Pro Concealer in, what is this? The Peach Corrector, and I'm gonna mix it with a lighter colored concealer because this is a little too deep of a peach tone for my skin. So I'm mixing it with the Instant Age Rewind Concealer from Maybelline, and I have the shade Fair here, and this is a little too light for me, so the slightly too dark peach mixed with the slightly too light of a skin tone concealer will hopefully give me the look I'm looking for here. So once that's buffed into my brush just a little bit, I'm going to go ahead and stamp that on any of the areas on my eyes that just have a little more darkness than I would like for a day like my wedding day. So you can see that really just canceled out a lot of the darker shade. That canceling is happening actually from the Peach Corrector, not necessarily from the concealer itself. So I do think that that combination is perfect. And then if I feel the need to actually conceal it anymore with just a regular flesh tone concealer later, I can always go in and do that after my foundation. I don't want to add too much product up front though, because a huge key to makeup that will photograph well for days like your wedding is to work in really light layers and only build coverage where you absolutely need it. So I'm just going to add that little bit of coverage now and reassess after my foundation is down whether or not I need to apply another concealer. Now I am going to be using the ColourPop Pretty Fresh Hyaluronic Hydrating Foundation. I wear the shade Light 55N if you are curious. Now in the summer, I would probably not use this foundation. I think it would not last long enough on my skin for a full day wedding in the summer. But in the winter, I have very dry skin, and this foundation provides just the right amount of moisture and coverage for something like a winter all day wedding. If you are worried that it will come off your face, for example, if you have really oily skin, even in the winter, or you don't have dry skin, or if you live in a climate where it's still really hot in the winter time, go ahead and check out the other videos in my bridal makeup series because I have a lot of great suggestions on there for foundations that are better for hot, sweaty weather or different skin types. But I absolutely love this foundation. I mean, it just gives me a really healthy amount of glow without being shiny or oily. And I am not worried about the staying power of this in the winter time here at all. So as I said earlier, work in small layers. I'm gonna put just a little bit more of this foundation on some of the parts of my face where I feel I need a little bit more coverage, which is usually like my forehead, my chin, and my nose. I did just have my glasses on before filming, so there's no way I'm gonna get rid of these red marks, but that's okay. I wouldn't make that mistake on my wedding day, so we'll just have to ignore those for the sake of this video. Make sure, especially on your wedding day, that you blend your foundation down your neck and onto your ears so that you don't have any harsh lines between the shade of your foundation on your face and the rest of your body, because that difference will show up very, very clearly on camera. And after reassessing, I do want to go in with just the tiniest bit more concealer. This is the e.l.f. Hydrating Camo Concealer, and I wear the shade Light Peach. And I'm just going to do one tiny dot under each eye. And then I'm also going to blend just a little bit onto my eyelids to cancel out some redness there before I do my eyeshadow. Okay, that concealer is blended in and I'm really happy with the complexion so far. We're gonna add a little bit of color back into my face with bronzer and blush before I powder anything down, because I'm going to be using 2 cream products for that. So my very favorite cream bronzer is the Milk Makeup Matte Bronzer, and I have the shade Baked, which is the lighter of 2 shades. And I just take this on a fairly dense brush and pat it onto my cheeks, right beneath my cheekbones, and then I blend upwards onto my face to give myself a little bit of believable color. I do think in the winter you're riding the fine line between looking too sun-kissed, because it's not always going to be the most believable. So I do kind of do a little bit more of a contour line in the winter time with my bronzer and blend it up a little bit less than I typically would. So again, I'm just kind of dipping my brush straight into that product and then applying to my face. And I do love applying bronzer this way, just because it adds a lot of definition to your face. It still adds color back, of course, also, but I think it also just adds, you know, like really nice chiseled cheekbones, and it's kind of a 2-for-1, like a contour bronze together. Then again, just like with the foundation, drag a little bit of that bronzer down your neck. You don't want to have too harsh of a contrast between the bronziness going on your face and on your neck. Today for blush, I'm using the Daniel Sandler Watercolor Liquid Cheek Color in the shade Caress, which is like just a really beautiful peachy shade. And I just take that on a small stipple brush and I kind of wipe any excess off on the back of my hand so that I don't have too much color going on. And then I just pat that gently all across my cheeks and back into my hairline. So you can see this blush just gives such a healthy glow to the face without it being like overpowering or too in your face, and this blush will last forever on your skin. I am amazed by the staying power of these blushes. Particularly cream and liquid blushes are notorious for kind of coming off of your face really quickly. Even powder blush is usually the first thing to fade in a makeup look. So I think that a product like this, although it's a little bit pricey, is totally worth the investment, because this will require no touching up, no fixing, no adding throughout the day. It will just stay looking this beautiful flush the whole entire day. Okay, so now that I am done applying cream and liquid products to my complexion, I'm gonna go ahead and powder things down just in the parts of my face where I know makeup tends to rub off. So this might take a little bit of trial and error for you to figure out where you need to place the powder, but I'll give you my top recommendations for the winter time. For this, I'm using the Bare Minerals Hydrating Mineral Veil. It's just a beautiful translucent powder that really creates a flawless finish. So I love it for things like special occasions or weddings when I want my makeup to last a long time. So I don't want to skip powder, but I don't want it to look heavy or cakey on my skin. So I just tap a very small amount into the lid. I won't even use all of this up. And then I take a relatively small brush. This is a Real Techniques setting brush. And I just swirl that in the cap to get it kind of really primed into the brush. And then tap off any excess. So the parts of my face where I always powder are under my eyes because I have really fine lines under my eyes, and my concealer will settle into those throughout the day if I don't powder it into place. And then in the winter, on a normal day, I wouldn't powder anywhere else on my face. For a wedding in the summer, I would probably powder my whole face because I'm nervous that the makeup's gonna come off if I sweat. But in the winter, for a wedding, I would find kind of a happy medium of those two things. So I would powder like right in my T-zone, just because that's where I tend to get oily first. So your T-zone is your forehead, your nose, and your chin. So that's kind of my happy medium, my compromise for long-lasting winter makeup. I don't want to powder the outer sides of my face because my skin is really dry, so it's just going to make it look dry and cakey. But again, that takes some trial and error. You're just going to have to kind of test out your own makeup, see where it wears off first throughout the day, and just powder there. Another reason that I didn't need to powder my whole entire face is because I know I'm going back over this bronzer with a powder bronzer. That just helps with the lasting power of your cheek products. I have the e.l.f. Primer Infused Bronzer, and I use the shade Forever Sunkissed. I'm just taking it on a really fluffy angled brush, just the tiniest bit, and stamping that right over top of where I already put bronzer on my cheeks. And I'm gonna let that overlap just slightly with the blush that I applied also, because I think it adds a little bit more of a believable transition between skin to bronzer to blush. Same spots as before, I'm doing underneath my cheekbones, right along the edges of my forehead, and then again, just down my neck a little bit for blending purposes. I'm really happy with this so far, but because we added all of those powders, I did lose a little bit of the natural glow in my skin. So because of that, I will add a highlighter. This is the Essence Pure Nude Highlighter in number 10, Be My Highlight. It's the lightest shade that they make of this highlighter, and I just place that on the high points of my cheek. Again, this is a Real Techniques setting brush. These are perfect for highlighter. I will take it down my nose, across the tip of my nose, so I'll show you just one more time on this side. It gets a little bit better light in my setup. You can see that looks really, really natural, but adds a lot of beautiful glow back into my skin. I'm gonna move on to eyes. Today I am using the Stila Eyes Are the Window eyeshadow palette in the shade Soul, and I believe this is discontinued. It's pretty old. I should probably consider getting rid of this, but I'm trying to just use up some of the shades that are still really high performing. So I picked this today because I'm gonna be using the black matte shadow later on, so I just wanted a palette that had that in there. And to start out, I'm going to mix this warmer brown with this almost gray brown here to create kind of just a neutral brown tone. If you don't have this palette, or because it's discontinued, you can use any mid-tone brown for this step, or you could even use like the powder bronzer that we just used would be a perfect shade for this step of the makeup process. So I'm grabbing a nice fluffy brush here because I'm going to be putting this in the crease of my eye. So I'm just gonna do a little mixing over here of these two shades. So again, the warm brown and the gray. And then I'm just gonna use kind of sweeping and circular motions to blend that out through my whole crease. So this is adding definition to your eyes. Once I have that placed in my crease, I'm gonna pick up just a little bit more of those same shadows, and I'm gonna start blending kind of up even more towards my brow bone and out a little bit more. That'll give the illusion of larger eyes. Great, so at this point we have shadow in the crease and then on this outer corner kind of blending up towards my eyebrow. So that adds a lot of definition into my eyes, and because I already put concealer on the rest of my eyelid earlier on in this process, it adds a nice highlighting effect to the inner corner of my eye without me putting any specific shadow there. So I am just gonna take this brush and blend kind of right over my lid. I don't have any additional product, I just have the brush that I was using from before. to kind of nicely blend those edges. Make sure it's not a harsh line, nice and soft. And at this point, I have two recommendations. One is to do an all matte eye look. So you would just leave it like this and then move on to the next steps that I'm about to show. I'm doing that today because I absolutely love the look of matte eyeshadow in the wintertime, and I'm gonna do a bold black liner and some strong lips. So I wanna keep the eyes as simple as possible. But I know if it's your wedding day and you want a little bit of sparkle, that's totally understandable. I love sparkly lids for weddings. So in that case, if you happen to have this palette, I love this shade here, Kitten from Stila. It's a classic shade. I also love the single shadow from ColourPop called Amaze. Let me just grab it really quick. Okay, so this is the one I was talking about. This is super affordable. It looks extremely reflective on camera in my lights here, but on your lids, it just looks like a really beautiful wash of sparkle and sheen. So I love this. It's called Amaze. It's their Super Shock Shadow formula. I will link it down below, but I won't be using this today. I have used that shadow in so many of my other videos. If you just search on my channel for, ColourPop Amaze, you will see it come up and you can see it in action on one of those videos. All right, so simple as that, the eyeshadow is done for this look. As I mentioned, I'm going to be doing a black liner, and the reason for that is twofold. First, it provides a really nice spot to lay down some false lashes, which I think are essential for your wedding day if you're going to be having any sort of photography, because it will really make your eyes pop in a way that they just can't with mascara unless you happen to have the most incredible lashes in the entire world. The other reason for that is because I love a really classic eye look for wedding makeup. I think that black liner is just timeless, and who doesn't want that on their wedding day to look back on? So I will be using the L'Oreal Super Slim Infallible Liquid Liner. Any liquid liner would be great, or if you have like a gel pot with a small brush, that would work well for this also. My recommendation for doing a really awesome black liner that's going to stay the whole day is to pick out first one that's waterproof. Second, to take a black eyeshadow after you've applied the liner and just use a tiny brush and stamp right over the top of that black liner so that it really locks in that liquid product. So I'm going to do this without talking, and I'm going to be looking down into my mirror here, and I'm just going to do one eye so that I can show you what I do for the liner and the eyeshadow. And then I'm going to go ahead and do the other liner as well as my lashes, mascara, and brows off camera. While I'm doing my liner, I will link up here a tutorial that I did on applying false lashes to yourself. So check that out if that process makes you nervous. But if I showed you on camera today, this video would be too long. So let's go ahead. I'll show you one side of the eyeliner and then I'll be back pretty much done. Okay, I am back, almost completely done with this makeup look. So I went ahead and did my eyeliner, and hopefully you can see behind the lash here, I did a little tiny wing out the end. And I did that because I have fairly round eyes and I wanted to elongate them and make them look bigger. And I also did that because I knew the lashes I was going to wear, the Ardell Demi Wispies, are shorter in the front here and then get wider and longer out towards the side. So I wanted to kind of mimic that shape with my eyeliner. I also did my brows and mascara off camera, so all of those products will be listed down in the description box below. And now we get to talk about one of my favorite parts of this whole entire bridal look, and that is the lipstick. So I'm gonna offer two suggestions here. And one is kind of for the more classic romantic bride, and one is more for that bride that really wants to look stunning, over the top, beautiful winter vibes. So the more romantic option here is from Real Her Cosmetics. This is the shade Girl Power in their moisturizing lipstick formula, and it's just a deep mauve. I am going to be putting on the other shade today, so I will insert a picture here of me wearing this exact makeup look with this Girl Power shade of lipstick, just so that you can picture what they would look like together if you did want to go more of that classic route. So the reason I love this lipstick is because it's really moisturizing. It's gonna look beautiful on your lips. It has a little bit of sheen to it, which looks beautiful in photos. And it lasts so well for not a matte lipstick. I am blown away every time I use this lipstick by how well it stays on my lips. And it's just a perfect pink tone that still looks like you're having a winter wedding. You know, it's like a slightly darker pink tone. Now, the option I am going with today is the Ofra Long Lasting Liquid Lipstick, and this is the shade Atlantic City, which is just like the world's most perfect blue toned red. So it's going to make your teeth look super white, and it is also going to really play off nicely with this really simple eye look. I know that a red is not for everyone on their wedding day, including myself. I don't think I would be bold enough to wear a red lip, but if you are, I just want to put this on so that you have proof and confidence that it will look amazing. And I will say I picked this specific red out of my entire collection because this formula from Ofra is not going to go anywhere on your face. You can put this on at the beginning of your wedding day and have confidence that it's going to last through dinner, through drinks, the whole night. It is an incredible formula, but it's not going to dry your lips or crack or look cakey and gross as it dries down. I'm gonna do my best to put this on camera. I'm gonna be looking at my mirror down here. And just as a note, I did have chapstick on this whole time that I was getting ready. So I'm gonna wipe that off before I apply the lipstick. Lipstick is one of the hardest things for me to do on camera just because it takes me so long. I spend so long on my lip lines, it's insane. Especially with a bold color like this where I just really don't want it to be messed up at all. Oh man, all right, we'll see how this goes. I might cut out or speed up or fade this or something. I've just got to cut this and you'll see it when it's done because you're going to be sitting here watching me put this on for 20 minutes. Okay, so here is the finished look with the bright, bold lip. Again, I know this isn't for everyone, but if it is for you, do it. I mean, look at how classic and timeless this looks, and just imagine me in like a slinky, beautiful winter gown. I just can't even imagine a more classic winter look. So of course, that pink lipstick I recommended is also equally as beautiful and probably something I would personally feel more comfortable in. But if you think you can pull this off, oh my goodness, would you be stunning. I hope this video gave you some inspiration and tips and tricks for your own wedding makeup or special occasions coming up that you may have. If you enjoyed this video today, please consider giving it a thumbs up down below, commenting on the video, and subscribing to my channel if you haven't already. Thank you so much for watching today, and I will see you next time.